Welcome back to Electrolysis Unplugged, where we go beyond the probe and into the conversations shaping the future of electrology. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Joanie. Today, we're really excited because we're sitting down with Henry from Ballet to talk about precision, technology, probe design, manufacturing, and where the industry is headed next.
One of the reasons we wanted this conversation is because electrologists talk a lot about machines, settings, and modalities, but sometimes not enough about the actual tool entering the follicle, every single treatment, the filament itself.
Exactly. Probe design impacts insertion feedback, flexibility, tissue interaction, comfort, and treatment efficacy in ways many practitioners don't fully understand until they start experimenting and comparing.
And Ballet has built a strong reputation around consistency, precision, manufacturing, and openness to the practitioner feedback. So we thought Henry would be perfect person to help unpack some of those conversations with us today.
So Henry, thank you for joining us today.
Hey everybody, as y'all get settled, we're going to give you guys just a couple minutes to get together. And full transparency, not only do we have a special guest, which we're going to go over that in a second, but we do have some tech issues happening. So if at any point, all of a sudden Joanie's gone and it's just it's just me and the Henry show.
I'm not mad.
She did not run. She's like, I'm done with talking to him. None of that happened. It's just the tech has decided that it wants to take over her life today. So we wanted to kind of give you guys fair warning that if you all of a sudden see her dip out, I will take over and ask the questions and I'll just grill Henry all by myself. That happens. So, all right, without further ado, I'm going to keep an eye on our members and see who's joining. But let's kick it off.
Can you just make me co-host?
I sure can.
I can't see the waiting room. So today, our special guest is Henry from Ballet. And Henry, we've got a good amount of material to go over to kind of discuss the past, present, and future of Ballet International, right? So Henry, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Like I said, I've been watching the podcast the last couple months and learning a lot, so I'm happy to make my contribution. Yeah.
We really do appreciate that. It was actually kind of cool to see your face pop in here because we know that the distributors, just like the electrologists, we have busy schedules. And for you to come in here and actually want to learn from the people that are using your product or want to use your products and get to see us in action, the questions that we ask, I think it will actually help everybody. And I think that for every one of our distributors that comes on here and talks about it, because while there is a component to the fact that like we want to elevate you guys, we also want to elevate the electrologists that need you. So we're going to start kind of broadly, and I'm going to kick this off with a big old question. For someone newer to the industry, as teachers here, right? Or even a seasoned electrologist who may not know the deeper story, how do you personally describe Ballet and its mission within electrology going forward?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would describe Ballet's mission and it's sort of our place and role in the industry is connecting advanced manufacturing with electrologists and the needs of electrologists. We focus entirely on probes. Obviously, we don't produce epilator machines or other equipment. So this gives us, that focus gives us something to excel in, and that's what we try to do with the advanced manufacturing.
Oh, I love that. I think that a hyper focus is never a problem when it comes to perfection. In our industry, it's like kind of what we do. Wouldn't you agree, Joanie?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that you put out better products when you just concentrate on one or a few things.
Yeah.
We definitely hear repeatedly Ballet being associated with precision and consistency. So when you think about the identity of the brand, what are the qualities that you most want electrologists to associate with Ballet by the end of the year?
Those are definitely the two big ones, precision and consistency, like you said, Joanie. With precision, what we mean by that is small, basically. Being precise is about doing things on a small scale and doing it consistently over and over without variation that's going to affect treatments or impact electrologists or their clients. So that's what precision means. And again, consistency is we're making over 5 million probes a year, more and more every year now. And to do that, we have to scale. We have to do a lot, but we have to be consistent with it so electrologists can trust it.
I love that. And like that consistency that you mentioned there. I think that there's a lot that you've done a lot recently with the technology side of it too, and the attention to detail in manufacturing. When it comes to that precision factor, on the manufacturing side, I know that you guys came out with something recently. You had an update in your manufacturing. So outside of the clinical side of it, like how probes are made, and quality control, what's happening there that's shifted to create that consistency elevation?
Absolutely. So I think specifically, and I can go into a little bit more later too about the full process of making probes. But in terms of the big one of the big updates we've had recently, along with our new insulated probes, which I want to encourage electrologists to check out now that they're back and updated. But one of the big updates we've made is AI quality control. Essentially, an AI vision system is the type of AI. Obviously, there's many types of AIs. There's LLMs, which is sort of what people see in the news. But in manufacturing, you can use AI vision systems where essentially a photo is taken of the product after it's been through a process. In this case, this happens after our insulation process. And so every single one of our insulated needles has a little photo taken of it, and a little AI brain analyzes it basically, and using algorithms and things that are beyond me at this point, honestly. But they confirm, for example, that there are no burrs along the probe, no dust or anything like that might have even gotten into the manufacturing process accidentally, making sure that the probes aren't bent and making sure the tip's not deformed. All that can be done on every single probe. Whereas, a few years ago, even, or, at any time in sort of manufacturing history, you'd have a person checking every 10th product. And this is across industries, and, for us too, for probes, you'd have a person picking up probes at one at a time and looking at them and then putting them down. And this is as, again, thousands are being made per day. It's exhausting for them, and they can only do, again, 1 in 10, 1 in 100, even more likely. Now we can photograph every single one and make sure that it's in good condition, or pull it off the line if it's not.
Wow,
So I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit, because I think that practitioners may not realize how like tiny variations in manufacturing can completely change the insertion and really how the treatment feels, right? So what's some of the biggest things that you're looking for during production?
With the system I just described, following insulation, we're making sure that, again, the probe is in good condition in the ways that I mentioned. No burrs, nothing that'll catch during an insertion. So that's the step that electrologists will really feel, especially experienced electrologists, in deeper follicles in particular, and throughout, as different skin types. Catching during insertion is something you want to avoid. You don't want to accidentally puncture the follicle wall if the probe is too sharp, for example, and you don't want to. You want to hit your mark and target the base of the follicle. A probe that has defects, like the ones I mentioned, or a probe that has insulation that hasn't been applied properly along it, for example, you could see more catching during insertion, and your client might feel that too.
But your insulation isn't something that can really be seen under the magnification, right? So is the AI program able to detect that?
It is able to detect if the insulation is, for example, if there's dust in the line, you might
Mm-hmm.
get a bubble in the insulation,
Uh,
and that the AI little, vision system would be able to detect. And that probe would be, literally a little arm comes out and just pulls the probe off and puts it in a bin that doesn't get packaged and doesn't get sent to electrologists.
Uh,
Okay.
you know, I, I know that like I haven't even gotten to this point yet, so I'm going to focus in on this because I totally, when I saw you in Cope at the Cope conference back earlier this month, I got to nerd out about like your family's history and like manufacturing such small tech devices. Like, I want to know like how did that even start for the Ash family? I mean, like when I think about it, I mean, you guys, I don't think that there was anybody making a milled filament the same way before that. When I look back in my electrology museum equipment, so I got to know like what's the Ash story in like probe manufacturing? How'd you guys get into this?
Great question. It's very niche, definitely.
Yeah.
And I guess that's something we like about it. It's if you can specialize and focus on doing one thing that brings a lot of value to electrologists, then then it's worth doing, and it's something that you can get really good at. So I guess that was maybe part of the story. But to go back, my dad Joe, who first founded ballet, was working on producing acupuncture needles. And this is in the 1980s, early 1980s. And acupuncture needles are largely made in Japan, and they're bigger than electrolysis probes. They're sharper too because they're designed to puncture the skin. Acupuncture needles, you're actually, shoving into the person's body. It's not like electrolysis where you're, threading the probe through the follicle and not penetrating the skin, of course, if you're doing it properly. Um, but we couldn't quite get an edge in acupuncture needle production. But because electrologists, excuse me, appreciate the manufacturing, specifically being able to make the tip polished and precise and rounded in the way that we do it.
Mhm.
Electrologists appreciated that more than acupuncturists did. So my dad in the 1980s switched entirely to making electrolysis probes.
That's so
That's the
cool.
background. Yeah, generally.
What was that? I mean, like the conversations around the dinner table probably were absolutely hilarious. Like whenever someone geeks out about like, those things, what were some of the early innovations that your dad found that you guys are now taking that next level with the milling and that kind of stuff? Was there anything that was like I know that those early videos, we all have at least one free ballet video that we've all gotten from a conference at some point where we watch Lorenzo working with the electrolysis filaments and like it's like the old one, right? When you think of like the mill back then, when your dad first started with this, and like what you're taking now with you and your mom, um, what's the biggest shift in the actual milling of that other than the AI? Was there any difference or is it the same thing over and over? We just got better about being able to see it and like why can you guys see it so much easier? I know that there's something about being in France with tiny parts that you talked about in Canada, but I can't even remember what that full part was. Like I know there's a specific reason that you guys have chosen to work in such micro spaces. I just can't remember what it is. So tell me about that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess for the audience and Stephanie and Joanie, I know you both know this from you having been in the industry for so long. But a one piece probe like a ballet probe is shaped from a single piece of steel, from a single piece of stainless steel at its core, and then it can be coated in gold or insulated and so on. But this differs from a two piece probe, which is more common amongst other producers of electrolysis probes, because a two-piece probe, like it sounds, is assembled from two pieces, a wire and a larger shank piece. That is, then the two are connected, and then you can use it as a probe. Um, Originally, electrolysis probes, and this obviously predates me by a long, long time, But going back to the 1800s, electrolysis probes were shaped from, in large part, in many cases, shaped purposely for electrolysis. And the innovation that sort of got ballet going, and it's sort of gave us our technological edge, I guess you could say, is that we could shape probes, we sculpt them, mill them, like you said, and then polish them, which is a really important process too. And we could do this cost effectively enough that it could be disposable, because early electrolysis probes were not disposable, right? People were washing them and using autoclaves and so on, which electrologists will be familiar with. But now disposability is the gold standard. It's the standard for health and safety. So that's like, I guess, one of the key elements in our history, is being able to shape probes from a single piece of steel. You get that reliability of not worrying about the two pieces becoming disconnected, which can happen. So your probes are going to be good when you use them. You get the precision of our polish too, which, like I said, gives the tip its unique shape and unique feeling during insertion, hopefully reducing catching when an electrologist is getting the angle of insertion right, and also giving them that sense of feedback that I've maybe you mentioned to me, and other electrologists describe when they talk about ballet probes, being able to feel what's going on inside the follicle during and after an insertion, knowing when you're hitting your mark.
And I know we had chatted about this briefly, but there was a reason why the company is set up where it is in France, right?
It's watchmaking.
So that was kind of
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the region of France, in eastern France, and Switzerland is actually more kind of known for this internationally, is watchmaking. It's one of the first places in the world, at least in Europe, where they're making small metal parts for the first watches and the first clocks and things like that, way back in the day. And even today, obviously, the watch industry has changed a lot, and it's the electronics is mostly made in Asia, but they still specialize in this type of tiny metal pieces.
That's so
in
cool.
France. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they had the workers that knew what they were doing, right? To kind of take on this project. It's kind of cool.
Specialists, engineers.
Yeah.
With real familiarity with the machines that do these processes, the shaping of small objects. Really, again, very niche. It's all niche. It's like electrolysis is niche as a field itself. It's very specialized, and you're focusing on something very unique. Same goes for the manufacturing and the engineers who are behind it too. Yeah.
Sometimes I have these nerdy moments when I think about, like you said, 5 million probes a year. Okay. So I just have to, if the average electrologist removed 500 hairs per hour and worked 40 hours per week, I just want people to think about just the amount of hair 5 million probes can kill. I feel like somebody's going to have a fun answer on their phone later on. Because you could really go down rabbit holes. And I did that when I switched to going into from a multi-needle expert to being cross-trained and all the different things. I laughed because I was doing how many hairs have I probably average killed? I bet you guys have quite the death toll on the follicle per filament. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so one thing you mentioned.
It's too much to quantify, but yeah, I think so. Yeah.
These are the fun parts. I'm telling you, the rabbit hole I can go down. There's a misconception that we talked about before having you on today, which was about probe flexibility. So let's talk about this because it's a really interesting topic. People often equate flexibility with weakness. Can you explain what electrologists are probably misunderstanding about the flexibility of filaments out there, and what you mean when you're talking about flexibility in the filament as well?
Sure. One of the first, I think, important things maybe to acknowledge when talking about flexibility of probes in electrolysis is all probes are made of steel, and your interacting with the follicle, which is living tissue, with steel. The follicle is much more delicate, much more flexible, than your probe is going to be in general. And the approach the approach of many experienced electrologists, and this is an approach that we really is key to what to our approach to electrolysis, is using, to some extent, straightening out the follicle with the probe, and not being intentional about it. So some students, for example, will learn on a two-piece, and it's a great tool to learn, and it's a great tool in general. But experienced electrologists will use Ballet because it's a probe that is more precise because of it, because it's one piece, and you can use it feeling the insertion in particular, to straighten out the follicle to some extent and hit your target more intentionally, than using a probe which may be more flexible but isn't as precise.
Yeah, that flexibility, I don't know about, like, one thing that we like to tell students is, like, it's really important when you're learning how to do an insertion to have a very flexible filament, because it gets you to understand where your hands need to be.
And I guess on that note, I mean, it becomes the feedback, right, for the practitioner, especially if you have a more distorted follicle, for example. So, how do you see that flexibility is helping insertions rather than hurting it?
Support for today's episode for Electrolysis Unplugged comes from Zap Master Electrology, where education meets innovation. A licensed school, Zap Master offers 200-hour to 600-hour electrology programs and mentorship to help new professionals thrive. Through Zap Master distribution, electrologists can access trusted tools, loops, and supplies. Learn more at thezapmaster.com.
Well, flexibility. Sorry, say the question one more time. How do I see it helping?
So how do you see flexibility as helping with the insertion as opposed to hurting it?
Flexibility can, feel, in some situations, in some skin types, it can work. But a probe that's more rigid to some extent, and monoblock is the engineering term, single piece. It will give you more feedback, rather than sort of flexing uncontrollably, I guess would be the way to describe it. So there's situations in which flexibility is good. There's situations in which more precision is needed.
Okay. Yeah, I like to tell that, with feedback being a huge component there, is like, I like to tell my students, like, a one-piece filament, they're both filaments that do the job. Okay, like, you're going to get to the follicle. A one-piece filament's going to feel like your finger. Okay, it's an extension of your arm because it feels more solid in your hand. But when you have not figured out where to put your finger, right? If it feels like an extension of your hand, if you haven't figured that out, the two-piece filament will help you learn where you need to ebb and flow with your hand first to get the precision that would be needed in your insertion accuracy with something that is more quote unquote rigid. Now, they're both flexible filaments, and that's what I tell them, that it happens more in the way of, like, your understanding of what's happening with your filament and how slow you or fast you move in that space. A lot of electrologists that are trying to feel the follicle correctly, like, especially students and new practitioners, something that they face is, like, the follicle itself is pliable. So something firm in there, when you don't know how to do an insertion, typically will feel like a mistake when really it's still a learning curve. So I think that the probe feedback there changes a learning curve for insertion technique. Would you agree in that space that there is a learning curve that they're going to have to adjust to if they're going from a 2 to a 1 or a 1 to a 2?
There's definitely a learning curve, for everything, and for beginner electrologist, absolutely. I like your metaphor of sort of an extension of the arm. When we talk about flexibility, we talk about controlled and uncontrolled flex. And so, some probes, and obviously the flex will differ as well when you're going from one size to another. That's something that electrologists have to get used to as well. It's all going to impact the level of feedback that you get, and how quickly you learn, how quickly you can get a sense of your client's skin, how the hairs grow in that part of the body, and it's all going to go into your experience and your toolkit as an electrologist.
So, do you think that experienced electrologists sometimes underestimate how much their probe choices are influencing their results?
Do they underestimate it? Probably, I don't know if I call it a misconception, but we see a lot of electrologists who stick with one probe type, and they get used to it, and that's what they sort of tend to stick with. And some electrologists even will just use a size 2 for everything, which that's way too much sticking in that. You need to vary more than that for sure. But most electrologists will use a variety of sizes, hopefully, and we encourage them to use a variety of different types of probes too. Again, to talk about learning curve, the more experience, the more diverse, varied experience that electrologists get, the better that'll be.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so moving into like the technology and innovation, kind of like listening to our practitioners there, because you just had a lot of changes over at Ballet. One thing I really appreciated hearing from you was the openness to feedback and willingness to evolve products. When you came out to Zap for my grand opening event as a distributor there, that was one of the cool things about like talking to the electrologist and showing them what's coming and like what you guys were working with, and even like samples so they can give feedback about what you guys are doing. You ask for feedback over and over. How important do you feel practitioner feedback is in the development process for Ballet?
It's everything. I think, the experience of electrologists, and then I obviously the experience of their client as well, is the most important thing. And the electrologists know best. We can't obviously talk to the folks who are receiving hair removal, or at least we can't talk to enough of them. But electrologists are view into they know their needs better than anyone. So it's absolutely number one for us, feedback.
And then when it comes to testing these new ideas, or get this criticism, how do you decide what feedback becomes meaningful enough to influence your changing your manufacturing process?
Volume to some extent. Like if a lot of people are asking for a particular change, obviously that's a big signal. And if people are asking, I guess some stuff is regional. In some areas, electrologists like insulated a ton. In some places, they like gold. So if people in different regions are saying the same thing, then it's like, okay, that's probably something we should pay attention to.
Was there a recent change that came from against the masses? Something that you've incorporated or changed?
Good question. The most recent thing that's impacted our, that we've put into our products, our polish quality is something that we're always trying to focus on. And we do occasionally get electrologists, who want, an even better polish than we have. And it's something that we're actively testing, new technologies, to try and make our polish, try and keep our polish the best in the industry. It's something that's defined Ballet for a long time. We have the mirror finish, but we're always looking to use the newest technology to keep those standards as high as they can be and keep them on the cutting edge, I guess. That's a big one. I guess another one I should mention is Stephanie. You reminded me of it just a few weeks ago when we saw each other in Canada. We are working on a blend probe. I can say this because we actually prototyped it quite a few years ago before the insulation material shortage that prevented us from making insulated probes for a while. But we're testing probes that are insulated but have a longer exposed tip, so they're going to be more effective for galvanic and blend treatments for that reason.
Any
That actually was
funny
Ones there, I guess.
suggestions
Yeah.
or things that were kind of, off the wall criticisms or
Oh yeah,
any
like
funny
what's like the
stories?
weirdest one?
The weirdest request that we've gotten. Oh, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if I could think of any of them as weird. Like we get a lot of different types of requests. Um, I'm thinking of like I don't know. In some places, people don't understand exactly how insulation works. So maybe that, like, my mind is going to um, like some parts of the world that haven't had electrolysis practice there for very long. In some cases, it would be like in the past decade or two. Um, and as compared with like the United States, Canada, England, and France in particular, where electrolysis really got started. There's over 100 years of history there. In some parts of the world, we hear about people who are like using wires for electrolysis, and obviously the results are very difficult. It's not like a clean thing, electrolysis in those situations. Um, but we're always trying to educate people, and yeah, I guess no feedback is silly to us, I guess.
I remember when I was bugging you at the
Diplomatic
conference.
answer.
Yeah,
Diplomatic.
absolutely.
I was bugging him the first year I met him at the AEA conference. I was like, I go, I'm gonna bug one of your family members into this. I want like an insulated gold filament. And he was like, it's too slippery. And it was like, oh, wait. Oh. And
Yeah.
I was like, me with the multis. It's the same thing as the multi needle. Anybody that could listen to the squeaky wheel that I wanted this had to hear me say that. And I said it to you like one time, and you're like, oh, I'm going to tell you exactly why we haven't done it. And I was like, oh,
There was a reason.
like
Yeah.
the wind out of my sails in that moment, but also like the I felt validated of like, okay, I'm not crazy for asking it, but at the same time, I was like,
Mhm.
but yeah.
It's a great question. The question Stephanie was asking is, why isn't there an insulated a gold insulated probe? And the answer is, at least for now, and maybe somebody will figure out how to do it. But gold is applied in a thin layer, through electroplating. It's not a solid gold needle when you use a gold electrolysis probe. Otherwise, it would be maybe a little bit too expensive to be disposable.
And heavy.
But gold is applied in a thin layer, and so is insulation. But the insulation needs to be removed at the tip of the probe, so that electricity can be conducted and the reaction can happen in the follicle. And with an insulated probe, you're getting that reaction only at the tip, right? That's why it's targeted. That's what's great about insulated probes. But because the insulation needs to be removed at the tip, gold would be removed with it. So
Yeah, it's
you'd
too
end up
thin.
with a probe that wasn't gold, was basically just insulated. So we haven't been able to figure out how to do it, but at some point maybe it'll happen. We'll see.
Hey, I'm always down for scientific moments.
Right?
Okay, so the humility and openness, it feels really important right now, and you have been so transparent in the last like year with all the shortages and that kind of stuff, which we appreciate. Right now, because technology is moving so quickly across the industry, where do you see the technology evolving in the next several years in the filament industry?
I would expect people will be implementing AI vision controls and things like that for quality, because it's like an easy win. You're not changing your whole technology. You're not having to like redesign everything from the ground up. You're just implementing um, a relatively quick process. And you have to obviously invest in like getting the little photo taken and having it be clear, and probes very small, so you have to get a good system for it. But it's an easy way to just make sure that there's more consistency in probes, and electrologists aren't getting probes that are bent or prone to breaking or things like that. Other technologies that would be implemented. I don't know. AI is the big one that everyone always talks about. So
That's right.
yeah, I guess that's the one that's like obviously the more headline answer maybe. But we're testing some new materials, which we're excited about. We have our new insulation material, which is PFAS free. Our old insulation material was also PFAS free. Our new one is too. But the benefit with PFAS, for folks who don't know, is a chemical that's in a lot of things, in a lot of plastics and things that people use on a regular basis. But some evidence says it can be an endocrine disruptor, which many folks who get electrolysis will understand the significance of endocrine disruption. And it can it's being researched for a variety of impacts. Do your research on it, of course. Don't take my word for it. That's another direction I think that new materials, better materials that are more natural for interaction, intimate interaction with skin and the human body, really important.
Awesome.
So to kind of take it away from, let's say, like the future and all that, what are some myths or outdated ideas in electrology that you feel the industry still needs to move beyond?
I guess outdated things I would discourage people from doing, getting too used to one method or one material or one type of approach or probe. Try a variety of things, and you'll get yourself outside your comfort zone. Push as educators. Both of you will, of course, know the value of trying different things and having students try different things and encouraging sharing ideas amongst each other. So that's I guess a big thing we would want to encourage and discourage getting too used to one method.
We've got an amen to that with lots of
Right?
exclamation points in the chat.
And that's from another teacher. That's from Eileen over in the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it's such a true statement though, because I would say that, and we talk about that all the time here on the podcast, is like, you need to like step outside your comfort zone. Ask the reason why we exist is we exist to, like, as a community, like E2C, is to be able to have an opportunity to no longer feel like you're alone in a treatment room, but you've got an electrology buddy that's like every Tuesday you pull up whatever your favorite beverage is and listen to us chat at you in those moments so that we can get out of those myths. For sure. Yeah. Little online electrology buddies. Okay, so let's talk specialty treatments. Okay. When it comes to terminal hairs in sensitive areas, like including like gender-affirming care, which is a huge focus for the two of us, both clinically and educationally, what makes those treatment areas uniquely demanding from probe design perspective?
The depth of the follicle in many cases is a big, I guess the number one challenge for electrologists and for us. We want to make a probe that is gonna give you the ability to treat deeper follicles, terminal thicker hairs, and not have it be hopefully too different from treating other follicles in other parts of the body or on different patients. So again, consistency. I keep coming back to consistency. That's a big part of it for us. But also probe choice. Not being afraid to try a larger probe, and getting more feedback and being more precise with it and having more surface area for the reaction. In particular, I'll say that again, a larger probe has more surface area along its outside, And that's surface area that's gonna interact. It's gonna touch physically the inside of the follicle, and conduct heat, and conduct current, and you're gonna get a better treatment, um, to some extent, in particular with blend treatments, for example, if that's a method, that you're using, you're going to get more surface area, more live production, more reaction, and you're going to have more impact on the follicle you're treating.
Want to keep learning on your own time? The Electrology Education Coalition offers a growing library of home study courses covering advanced techniques, ethics, business planning, and more. Earn CEUs, stay sharp, and continue building your skills. Explore the catalog at electrologycoalition.com.
Gotcha. Okay. So from the
Well, I wanted to kind of ask because there might be people on, listening to this at some point who maybe have never tried ballet before. I would like you to maybe explain a little bit about what's available. So I know that you make sizes through 6, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then I know that you're doing, you have the stainless steel with no insulation. You have the insulated. Maybe discuss a little bit how the insulation kind of looks on there. And then my question also was, do the lengths of the probes vary with the size differences, or is that something that is constant with you guys? And then I know that you do things with tapers. So can you go into a little bit of that kind of stuff?
Sure. So yeah, Ballet makes probes, sizes 2 through 6 for hair removal. And for electrologists, just for some background, probe sizes are determined by the percentage of an inch that they are. So a size 2 probe is 0.002 of an inch. A size 3 probe is approximately, these are almost exact, but it's an approximation. A size 3 probe, and this is across all brands, is 0.003 of an inch, and so on and so forth. Ballet doesn't make a size 1 because even for vellus hairs, a probe that is that thin is not going to be making much contact with, or enough contact to conduct heat evenly with the sides of the follicle, with the follicle wall. And it can be prone to breaking. Electrologists who use size 1 probes may see this in some cases that they report. So those are the sizes that we focus on, is 0.002 of an inch and larger.
Mm-hmm.
Then your next question was, but you mentioned insulation.
So like length.
Yeah,
so
length.
A size 2 and a size 6, for example, are they the same length?
Ballet probes have a consistent length unless otherwise specified. So we make short probes, which are just as they sound.
A whole other class, essentially.
But other ballet probes in general have a uniform length. The different sizes, the diameter of the probe is what is varying. You want a probe that matches, of course, the width of the hair that you're treating, and consider also the width of the hair outside the follicle and how that can vary from the width of the hair inside the follicle.
Sure.
I know that's something you focus on with your education. But roughly you want a follicle that matches the diameter. So the size refers to the diameter. And in terms of taper, Ballet makes tapered probes, which are very, very specialized, and most electrologists are not educated in using them. They are, we make them for some schools that where the method is still popular. And generally a tapered probe is going to be more rigid. But I wouldn't necessarily encourage electrologists, at least on that metric, to try, that the tapered is so specialized in terms of an education method that that's the only probe where I'd be like, if you didn't go to a school that teaches tapered, don't necessarily buy tapered probes.
So I guess that's a question that actually showed up in the chat just right now too. It's like, how do we learn about how to use tapered probes aside from the schools that maybe are, more versed in it. Is there resources?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We don't publish any. I don't think we ever have. Again, the main difference with a probe that's tapered versus a probe that's shaped to be more cylindrical
Sure.
is going to be the way it flexes, and again that the surface area difference between the tip and the base, which is wider, if it's a tapered probe.
I think, Stephanie, we need a workshop.
Yeah, it's the best way that I like to explain the use of taper probes, especially if you are a practitioner that would do uh, progressive blend ablation, is probably like the time where I would say that it would be the strongest component for it. I'm going to go back and explain my brain when he was talking about the different lengths and that kind of stuff, because my brain thinks in ballet before it thinks in pro tech, only because that's what I got trained on initially. But I think in both terms as a teacher, because I make them do both. I make them do all of them. They love me for this, I'm sure. But like one of the things I think about when a taper is a taper, especially for progressive ablation, with displacement. Okay, allows you to agitate the follicle a little bit more, um, with kind of that consistent V technique. Now, that being said, you guys are going to laugh at me when I say this. I came from old school blend where a bulbous edge, my brain thinks better in bulbous than I did in taper. So I personally, and this is no dig to taper probes whatsoever. So Henry, you know that I'm not that person, right? I personally don't enjoy a taper probe. And the reason for this is because when I think in terms of old school galvanic and blend, what I got trained on, the bulbous was the same shape as and a rounded edge that gave me what I needed on the interior of the follicle for that lye production, where the taper was Ving in the wrong, not that we'd ever V in this direction for like a filament, like go in there like, no, but like it was Ving in the wrong direction for the shape of the follicle. Now, I know that that is just my brain like trying to full stop not allow me to use something new and it's giving me a reason, right? But like, because a follicle is as flexible as you can get it. I mean, you're dealing with a like an animal balloon. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're sticking a filament into an animal balloon that you have to then stretch into the right position. And so that was the other part of it is like I don't enjoy the sharpness difference in that taper, because I am so used to a bulbous or rounded edged filament that I was having to learn so much when I was trying it that for myself, I was just like, we'll come back to this later. And then I never bought another pack. And so like, that's realities of Stephanie. Like it has nothing to do with like it being a good or bad filament to me. It has to do with, I was not in a place where I was willing and ready to learn on that and then bring it into my practice enough to get great at it.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds silly when I really think about it. You probably everybody else is like, why? And I'm like, because I just don't want to. I'm like, because I'm stubborn in there. But like, it's a great filament, and it is a great filament. It shows time and time again, like when you are well trained in it, that it works just like any other filament in those moments. But you got to be like really comfortable with using it in those spaces, which usually comes from the trainer who spent the 400 hours showing you how to actually
Yes.
enjoy it versus the 1 week of me trying to be like, nope, over and over again. So yeah, that would be my output. But yeah, I think a workshop would be so fun because I think that would force me out of my comfort zone again.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is really what it comes down to.
Yep.
Maybe we can connect some educators. I mean, educators are so important, and yeah, they're who who they drive the industry really. But maybe we can connect some tapered probe specialists and with with you, Stephanie, and see maybe spread some of the kind of more old school methodology there to younger electrologists. That would be cool.
Oh, I think if you guys saw the filaments that are in the museum compared to what we have nowadays, I'm going to tell you right now, the innovations that Ballet and Protech and Ebis and all like and Sterix that they've made in the last 30 years, 40 years is
Night and day.
it's enlightening. It reminds you that our industry is never stopped growing. It just kind of paused as we were trying to figure out the laser time, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking on that, like let's talk about the industry, like, education and the future of this as we like steal you for the last little bit. Because our audience does include like students, educators, clinic owners, advanced practitioners. I want to ask them.
Even clients.
Even actually, yeah. Now we have
Yeah.
now that it's the podcast, like I have clients that are like, I'm obsessed. And I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like we are making, I don't know, a fan club in that space, but like not for us,
Spreading the
but like
word.
for the industry. Okay, so this is the thing I want to ask. What advice would you give to electrologists who have only ever used one of something and haven't had that much experience with change? How would you get them to start seeking that, like, try something new feeling? Not be stubborn.
Try on yourself. Follow proper safety protocols, but try a new probe. And if you're nervous to poke your client, which is totally normal, see how it feels just inserting on your own follicles. You don't need to apply current even necessarily, but that insertion is where you're going to feel the difference between different probes and different sizes. And probe choice affects if your treatments too. But first try it. Try to see how the insertion feels on your own, and then get that scary bit out of the way.
Love it.
And so for educators specifically, what do you wish schools spent more time teaching about probe selection and insertion feedback?
What do I wish schools spent more time on? I think it is regional, I guess. Some schools, different schools focus on different things. Um, you know, some of our best, some of our best partners, schools that we work with who are really doing the most to drive the industry. They have a variety of stuff. To come back to the value of trying different things, to diversity and variety. They work with educators that if you're a student or if whoever's listening out there, work with educators who can introduce you to a few things. If someone is too focused on one method or one material or whatever it might be, you may be able to learn a huge amount from them, but also learn other things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Diversify.
For sure. Outside traditional electrolysis, because we don't want to spend a lot of time with this, but we know that filaments can be used outside of electrolysis. Where would you like to see more collaboration? I know that we've talked about like physicians and like how we started off in eyelash, and now like I know that when we were at Cope and she was talking about the electrolysis inside the mouth for skin grafts. Distributors, like what would you like to see the collaboration happening?
Collaboration between electrologists and surgeons, I think, is a really important one. Surgeons who do gender-affirming care, surgeons who do plastic surgery for around the face and other for aesthetic treatments. It's simply aesthetic treatments. Hair growth can obviously be triggered by surgery and the things that surround it. So electrologists who make partnerships with surgeons see a huge benefit, and surgeons who make partnerships with electrologists see a benefit too, particularly getting electrolysis done pre-surgery. That's a huge one, as you both know, absolutely. And then collaboration between electrologists probably and shops that do laser. Laser and electrolysis have been viewed as alternatives for a long time, or sort of competitors, but they're not. They're different tools for different things. And we're seeing more schools in the U.S. in particular, I'd say more schools and more clinics that do both, and that's a good thing. If you're gonna clear a large portion of a huge area, like for example, a man doing back hair removal, probably best to start with laser. Do what you can with laser, and then depending on the person's skin type and hair type, electrolysis will play a role at some point. And that'll be even more true for some clients, of course, who laser doesn't work well on. Those would be the two big collaborations. And
I like that.
yeah,
For sure.
surgeons are hard to get to sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's a separate story.
We're literally going to Mexico City in November to do a symposium for medical providers that don't quite understand why we're so important. So it's like, we get that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
So from your
You two
perspective,
are doing a huge amount. Just to touch on those things, you two are probably doing some of the most, along with other educators out there to bring these collaborations together. We tried to contribute, but practitioners, providers is who can make those collaborations happen, and hopefully it'll be recognized by clients.
yeah, that's the hope. So from your perspective, what keeps you optimistic about the future of electrology right now?
Collaboration, I guess, is it seems to be a good trend. It's moving in the right direction. After, I guess, many years where laser was was still showing where its limits were. Now we kind of know where the limits are with laser, and people know.
Have you noticed
become
like an
clear.
uptick in the amount of electrologists?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And not just in the US and Canada, but in Europe too, and in the Middle East. We have some really cool, because the electrolysis industry is so niche, probe manufacturers sell all over the place. And we work with people in, very different cultures, different economies and things like that. And everywhere, it seems like electrolysis is growing. Absolutely.
mm-hmm. Okay, so our final question for you, the little North Star moment for you. We always like to end with a bigger picture question. So if our audience remembered only one thing about ballet at the end of the year, what would you want that to be?
You won't be surprised to hear me say precision and consistency. We
First time I've heard this.
we're obsessed with the precision, and we're trying to get even more precise with the new technology that's available, and we want to be consistent because trust is so important.
Yeah.
For electrologists, between electrologists and their clients. You can have advanced technology, but if you're not inconsistent in a way that your clients trust, and that people really feel on a regular basis, and their day-to-day work, it's not worth as much. So precision and consistency and trust.
That's it. You know what? If you're going to have one North Star thing, you better say the same thing over and over again. So I actually don't think that's a problem that you have a little bit of a repetitive thing there.
I'm glad. I hope so. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. This was a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for taking the time tonight to speak to our membership, as well as the future of electrology and patients when this becomes edited. I know that we don't get to see you at AES this year, but I know that you sent some goodies for our participating in-person people. So you guys will get to have some of that at your fingertips if you haven't signed up. Now would be the time, right?
Yep.
So you can get those goodies. And then your next place, where are they going to see you in person next?
Oh, well, I'm hoping to get you some cool stuff for your event in a few weeks, but I'm sadly not going to make it. We're just doing some product stuff that we were excited to get out to customers. Testing a new platinum probe too, and a little secret there. But
Tell them.
I'll definitely see you both at AEA in October.
Perfect.
And
Go get Joanie.
I'm
I'm
not
at a
sure
wedding.
between now and then, we'll be looking to support the growth of E2C as much as we can, getting a couple cool little items to the event,
Yes.
and staying in touch, and always looking for feedback too from you. So
Awesome. Well, if anybody
Thank you
has
so much.
tried the new insulated filaments and you want to give feedback, where would they reach out to tell you guys what they think of the filament so far?
they can reach out to info@ballettechglobal.com is our just email address for general feedback.
And then website is just ballettechglobal.com.
ballettechglobal.com is our website. And we don't sell directly, we sell through educators and through distributors. So we'll put you in touch for purchasing and all that with your nearest local resource, and encourage that kind of community and communication in person amongst people in the industry.
Right on. Well, I put that in the chat, ballettechglobal.com, and info@ballettechglobal.com for any comments, questions, or if you want to see something different. They're always all ears. Thank you so much, Henry.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Henry,
guys.
thank you
It was
so
a
much.
real pleasure, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Henry, thank you so much for spending time with us today and for having such an open conversation about manufacturing, feedback, innovation, and the realities of clinical work.
And honestly, these are the kinds of conversations we need more in electrology. Conversations that build practitioners, educators, manufacturers, and technology together, instead of treating them as separate worlds.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share the episode with another electrologist, and continue the discussion with us online.
And if you want to learn more about Ballet products, education, or upcoming collaborations, we'll include the information in the episode description below.
Thank you for listening to Electrolysis Unplugged.